Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Salazar, and I'm the Executive Director of the Better Business Bureau Education Foundation. Thank you so much for your patience. We are just working through one more technical difficulty. Brent, have you sent us the videos yet?
Yes, I did. I sent them to you, Jennifer, as well as
And I do have them. So let me go ahead and get these up. Okay, so we are ready to go. So we're going to see if we can go ahead and play those when it is the appropriate time. You'll just let us know.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, my name is Jennifer Salazar. I'll be your moderator today, and we are going to go ahead and get started. 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay, 1 moment. Not share your screen so I can get in. Okay. So we are actually based out of Houston, Texas. So it's kind of funny because I can honestly say, Houston, we have a problem, but I am about to fix it real quick so we can go ahead and get started with our presentation today. All right. Let's see if I have this working now. All right. I think we're all systems go. Okay, yes. All right. Here we go. So we are very excited here in the Senior Medicare Patrol office in Houston, Texas. It is National Consumer Protection Week, and this is a week that the Federal Trade Commission, who we have today, celebrates all week long. And we have a wonderful week planned for you guys. We're halfway there. Today we have the honor of having Brett with us, and at 1 o'clock we'll have Homeland Security. And as you can see, we have presentations all week long. You just come to the same link, and we look forward to seeing you every day. So what is the Senior Medicare Patrol? We are a federally funded program through the Administration on Community Living. There's a Senior Medicare Patrol in 54 locations, including every state in the United States, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Your Senior Medicare Patrol is run through the Better Business Bureau Education Foundation in beautiful Houston, Texas. We cover the whole state of Texas, all 254 counties. We train professionals and volunteers to help us stop Medicare fraud in the great state of Texas. And our mission is to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse through outreach, counseling, and education. So us being here today, we are spreading our mission to stop Medicare fraud in the great state of Texas. If you want to volunteer, please call us. We have all kinds of volunteer opportunities. If you want to get together with friends and stuff our bags with our materials, that's one way. If you want to do presentations, that's another way. We have all kinds of ways for you to volunteer with us. We do lots of training, but we have a lot of fun with it. If you want to report Medicare fraud in the great state of Texas, give us a call at 888-341-6187. But without further ado, we want to introduce our speaker today from the Federal Trade Commission, and this is your week, so happy National Consumer Protection Week. And I'm going to go ahead and share my, let you share your screen, and then once we get to the videos, I'll take control again.
All right. I think we're good to go.
We're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and unmute until it's time for videos.
Okay. Good morning. I am Brent McPeak. She said I'm an investigator in the Federal Trade Commission Southwest Region Office in Dallas, Texas. I'm here to talk to you about spotting and avoiding scams. Before we get started, I want to say thanks to Diane and Jennifer and the BBB of Greater Houston and South Texas, along with the Senior Medicare Patrol, for inviting me to speak today. Also, I need to say that the remarks I'm giving today are my own, and I don't speak for or on behalf of the commission or any individual commissioner. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about scams. And at the Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, we spend a lot of time on scams. We collect consumer complaints about scams. We investigate scams. We sue scammers, and we hopefully get back money to consumers who have been scammed. And finally, we educate consumers about the scams we see. And the point of that is to help them avoid, being scammed again in the future. There are a few topics I'd like to cover today. First, I want to give you a big picture idea of the fraud that the FTC collects data on and the trends we're seeing. Next, I'd like to dive into a few specific topics: imposter scams, online shopping scams, and other scams that can reach you through your computer or your phone. Third, I want to pass along a few warning signs about warning sign that someone who's contacted you might be a scammer. And finally, I will give you some information on what to do if you think you've been scammed. Who we are. The Federal Trade Commission is the nation's consumer protection agency. We work to stop unfair, deceptive, or fraudulent practices in the marketplace. And generally what that means for people, for example, we try to alert people if there's a scam going around about fake COVID testing kits, or companies that fail to ship you items that you've ordered within a time frame that they promised, or a company that signs you up for subscriptions that you didn't know about or didn't know they would renew. And we do this in several ways. We do it through law enforcement mechanisms. We conduct investigations and sue companies and people who break the law. We also educate, and we couple that with our education arm, where we tell people and businesses about scams we're seeing, where to get help, and how to report. Part of the FTC's mission is to make sure that people know their rights and the businesses know their responsibilities. We work with government agencies, including state and local and community groups and organizations. The Better Business Bureau is actually one such organization, and we have an active partnership with the BBB in Houston. In fact, we recently, I guess it's been about a year now, hired a new investigator who's permanently located in the Houston area, and I believe he's come to most of your law enforcement partnership and BBB task force meetings there recently. So I know it's great having a permanent member down there with you guys. And these partnerships help us share information on scams we're seeing, plan enforcement actions, and get information out to the public. As I mentioned, one big part of what we do is consumer education, and that includes speaking at events like this one today. And it also includes gathering information about consumers, analyzing that information, and putting it back out to the public in ways that you can use. The FTC has a database called the Consumer Sentinel Network, and where we collect consumer reports of scams, frauds, bad business practices, annoying calls, and more, which is shared with more than 3,000 law enforcement partners nationwide. The information that the FTC receives and shares through Consumer Sentinel Network helps the FTC and the federal and state partners track trends, investigate targets, and create effective consumer education resources to inform people about the latest scams. Just a couple of weeks ago, actually, we released our data book regarding the 2022 consumer fraud reports. As you can see, we've seen a sharp increase in the dollar amount of fraud being reported by consumers over the past year. Consumers collectively reported $8.8 billion in losses to fraud in 2022. That's almost a 50% increase over the previous year, and the median loss from consumers filing reports was $650. Here's a snapshot of the data we received for 2022. And as you can see, identity theft and imposter scams are the top two categories of reports the FTC received in 22. And this has been the case for several years now, actually. Younger people may have reported losing money to fraud more often than older people, but when people aged 70 or over had a loss, the median loss was much higher. The top 5 categories of fraud were imposter scams, in online shopping scams, prizes and sweepstakes and lotteries, investment-related scams, and business and job opportunities. The FTC's 2022 data book continues to show that fraud affects all ages, and with the highest number of reports received from adults in the 30 to 39-year-old age group at 18% of all reports, If you'll notice, the 60 to 69 age group also had 18% of all reports, but just a slightly few less in terms of number of actual reports. And for example, let's see, but there are some interesting wrinkles here. For example, people in their 20s reported losing money to fraud more often than people in their 70s. And millennials filed more fraud reports than older adults. But when people 70 years or older reported an actual loss, the median loss was much higher. The median loss for people in their 20s was only $548. I say only, that's still significant. But for people in their 70s, the median loss was over $1,000, and even higher for people in their 80s at over $1,600. So it's important to educate yourself about common frauds and pass your knowledge on to someone you care about. Imposter scams come in many varieties, but work the same way. A scammer pretends to be someone you trust to convince you to send them money. Imposter scams are also known as impersonation scams. And if you'd like to, after we talk today, go and find out more about these imposter scams, you can go over to ftc.gov/imposter. And there's tons of information on each of the different types of imposter scams. Scammers may pretend to be someone you know or trust, like government officials, legitimate businesses, or even family and friends. In 2022, 1 in 5 people reported losing money to an imposter scam. In total, consumers reported losing $2.67 billion. The dollar value lost by consumers to imposter scams has more than doubled over the last 2 years. And the median loss per person was $1,000. So let's dissect a few of these impersonator scams. Government impersonator scams, and you might be familiar with a lot of pre-COVID government imposter scams. For example, you might have gotten calls claiming to be from Social Security Administration saying something about your Social Security number had been suspended, or from another agency saying your Medicare benefits have been suspended, or even from the IRS saying you owed back taxes. These scammers use threats and intimidation to get people to send money or to give up their personal information like their Social Security number or their bank account number. Scammers also try to get people's money or personal information by pretending to be government employees offering help. And how do these scams work? Well, it usually starts with a call, a text, an email, or even a message on social media from someone who says they're from the government. It could be any agency, the Social Security Administration, the IRS, or Medicare. They may say something alarming, like your Social Security number has been suspended, or you'll be arrested, or you owe back taxes, or maybe they'll say you'll miss out on some of your Medicare benefits. To fix the problem, they'll say you must pay or give them your personal information, like your Social Security number. The caller might also have some of your Social Security number in advance, and your caller ID might actually show a Washington, D.C. area code, but is it really the government calling? And the answer to that, of course, is no. Scammers may be convincing and sophisticated. And to make this scam seem more real, they sometimes take information from headlines, like an announcement from a real federal agency, and twist it to make it fit their story and take advantage of confusion over what help is actually available. Scammers could reach out about any of the changes in government assistance or benefits, including unemployment insurance, student loan forgiveness, and even funeral assistance. Scammers are also good at using different emotions, worry, fear, love, to pressure you to send money or share personal information before you have time to actually think about it. So here's what to do. First of all, stop. Don't click on any links or call any numbers that they give you. Don't wire any money or pay with gift cards or cryptocurrencies, because once you send it, that money is gone. If you want to reach a government agency, find their contact information at usa.gov. You can look up any government agency in any office. We give people the following advice to protect themselves from these scammers. When someone contacts you offering a government benefit out of the blue, don't give out any names, birth dates, Social Security numbers, or financial information. And if you spot one of these scams, please report it to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov, your state attorney general's office, or to the agency that the scammer is impersonating. And finally, if you've already turned over any personal information to one of these scams, go to identitytheft.gov to report the identity theft and get a recovery plan. And identitytheft.gov gives you a step-by-step process on every single thing you need to do to minimize the damage and recover your losses. A second type of imposter scam is the romance scam. Reports about romance scams and the money people have lost because of romance scams have steadily risen over the last several years. In 2020 and 2021, we saw a spike coinciding with the pandemic. In 2022, we saw a drop of about 7,000 in the total number of people reporting losses, but because the individual median loss rose by over 5%, the total dollar value of loss generally remained steady, only falling by about 14 million, or about 1% of the total of $1.31 billion nationwide. That's a huge amount of loss dealt to consumers over using these romance scams. These scammers create attractive online profiles, and sometimes of a made-up person or assuming the identity of a real person. It is not always obvious that the profiles may be fake, and these scammers might make up plausible reasons to not meet in person. They might say it's too dangerous to travel, or they may even set up a date only to cancel at the last minute for a made-up reason. And even if you aren't using online dating sites or apps, a scammer may reach out on a social media platform through a friend request or a direct message. One way to see if someone is posing as someone else is to do a reverse image search of the person's profile picture. If they're associated with another name or with details that don't match up, it's obviously a scam. However, I would like to point out that reverse image searches are probably going to be less reliable in the future. With the increasing prevalence of AI-generated art and advanced photo editing skills, scammers can create computer-generated pictures of a completely fake likeness, and victims would never be able to know the difference. Sooner or later, romance scams will get at what they really want and ask for money. They may try to make the conversation move off of the dating app and make it harder to trace or where they are. Scammers can also play a longer game by cultivating a relationship over time. These scammers are really convincing, and they play on emotions, and they'll say, "I love you," really quickly, but will always have an excuse for not meeting up. There could be any number of reasons why these scammers say they need the money. They might need the money in order to travel to see you, or they could say they had a medical emergency, or whatever the reason, they need the money urgently, and they prompt people to send the money repeatedly over and over until until the victim finally gives in. What many of the people with the largest reported dollar losses have in common is that people believe their new partner has actually sent them a large sum of money. Scammers claim to have sent money for a cooked up reason and then have a detailed story about what the money needs to be sent, why the money needs to be sent back to them or onto someone else. People think they're helping someone that they care about, but they are actually helping people launder stolen funds. So we tell consumers to slow down, talk to a trusted person about this romantic situation. Even if the romantic partner is rushing them, it's best to reconsider what is happening with someone who actually cares about your well-being. If an online love interest asks for money by gift card, bank transfer, or wire transfer, it's a sign of a definite scam. We tell people that even if someone sent you money first, never send money or gifts to someone you've never met in person. Now, if you would play the romance scam video.
Absolutely. I just need you to stop sharing your screen, and then I can go ahead and share it.
Sure.
Thank you. Absolutely. Okay, here we go.
Looking for love in all the right places.
Can you see it?
Popular dating sites, mobile apps, social networking sites. Ron seems like a perfect match for you. It's thoughtful.
You can
Because
do
he
it.
can't live without you.
Okay, let's try this again. Let's see, new share. Okay. Okay, can you see it? Okay.
Looking for love in all the right places.
Yeah.
Like popular dating sites, mobile apps, social networking sites. Ron seems like a perfect match for you. It's thoughtful. Says he can't live without you. West works out of the country. Says he wants to visit, but says he can't afford it. He asked you to send him money. Last month it was medical bills for his sick aunt. This month he needs money to fix his car. Next month, who knows? Ron wants your money. Don't send it. The person pretending to be Ron is a scammer. He'll tell you anything to get you to wire cash right away. He'll never run out of excuses. If an online love interest asks you for money, walk away, no matter how compelling the story. Report scams at ftc.gov/imposters.
Okay, you can have the controls now.
All right, let me reshare mine. Okay. Okay, so if you suspect a romance scam, stop commuting with the person immediately. Don't send any money or gifts to someone you haven't met in person. Talk to someone you trust and pay attention if your friends or family say they're concerned about your new love interest. Do a search for the type of job the person has to see if other people have heard similar stories. For example, you could do a search for oil rig scammer or US Army scammer. That's a common, as an Army veteran myself, I heard about people who were scammed by people claiming to be in the military and deployed overseas, and they claim that they need money and they can't access their bank account. And so they ask you to send them some type of money transfer or gift card or some type of prepaid debit card. And so it's a very common, it's really common when you see these things. And you can also browse the comments on our blog posts on consumer.ftc.gov about romance scams to hear other people's stories. Remember to try to at least do a reverse image search of the person's profile picture to see if it's associated with another name or with details that don't match up. These are all very strong signs of a scam. You need to contact your banks right away if you think you've sent money to a scammer. Report your experience to the online dating site if that's how you actually met the scammer. And finally, report the scam to reportfraud.ftc.gov. A third type of imposter scam that frequently targets people online is a tech support scam. Here's how they work. You get a pop-up on your computer or a phone or your phone saying that there are viruses or malware on your device and that you need to update it. Often the pop-up will refer to Apple or Google or maybe your service provider to make you trusted. The pop-up then prompts you to call a specific number to speak to a technician or to click on a link to install the update. And to make sure you move quickly, the prompt says you'll lose all of your data if you don't act right away. You're then asked to give remote access to your computer to the technician or buy new software to fix the issue. In reality, this is a scam. No one has identified any problems with your computer, and the technician doesn't update or repair any issues. Instead, you get charged hundreds of dollars for updates that are non-existent or that you didn't need. These scammers might want to sell you useless services, steal your credit card number, or get access to your computer to install malware, which could then let them see everything on your computer. The scammer may ask you to send money. Sometimes they seek payment by wire transfer or by prepaid cards. Other times they'll accept payment by credit card. So don't be fooled by how they ask you to pay them. If you get one of these calls, hang up immediately. Never give control of your computer or credit card information to someone who calls out of the blue. A tech support call you don't expect is always a scam, even if the number is local or looks legitimate. These scammers use fake caller ID information to look like local businesses or trusted companies. If you get a pop-up message to call tech support, ignore it. Some pop-up messages about computer issues are legitimate, but do not call a number or click on a link that appears in a pop-up message warning you of a computer problem. If you're worried about a virus, malware, or other threat, call your security software company directly using the phone number on its website, on the sales receipt when you purchased it, or the product packaging. Or you can take your device to a trusted security professional. Now I'd like to show you another short video with an actual victim of these tech support scams. And I will stop sharing so you can play the second video.
Okay, perfect. And let me know if you can see it.
My name is Don Holmes. I live in Sun City West, Arizona. In this community, we're all seniors.
No, okay, one more moment. Let me try it one more time.
My name is Don Holmes. I live in Sun City West, Arizona. In this community, we're all seniors.
Okay, let's try it one more time. I do apologize. We're gonna get this. I promise we're gonna get this. I don't give up easy. Okay, let's try it one more time, everybody.
My name is Don Holmes. My name is Don Holmes. I live in Sun City West, Arizona. In this community, we're all seniors. After you move in here, even if you don't know anybody, you get to know other people. You enjoy doing things. I use a computer predominantly for email and to get the news. One day a thing pops up and kind of blocks the screen. All kinds of viruses in your computer. The design of the pop-up had a Microsoft logo on the top, and they had a number, and I couldn't get rid of this thing on the screen. Turn the computer off, turn it back on, still there. So I called the number. They identified themselves as Microsoft. I had no feeling that there was anything wrong.
Tech support scams are real and they're causing enormous consumer injury, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's just based on the FTC's own law enforcement work. Just like Mr. Holmes, a lot of people are getting pop-ups on their screens, and often they claim to be associated with a company such as Microsoft or Apple, giving them lots of credibility.
They told me they would clear what they considered to be malware in there. In order to clear it up, they needed to get into my computer and have my control of the computer turned over to them. So I gave them my password. They went in, the thing came off of the screen. When I went back to my computer the next day.
Never let a stranger into your house. Don't let one into your computer. If you get a pop-up, don't click on a link. If you get a phone call from someone who says your computer's security is at risk, don't listen to them. Stop, take the time to talk to a friend, talk to a family member.
When this happened to me, I was a little bit embarrassed. I mean, I consider myself fairly alert, but I was targeted and I was scammed. I didn't really want to talk about this. Lies that if I didn't talk about it, that if I didn't file the complaint with the Attorney General, that if I didn't file a complaint with the FTC, that I would have shrunk into myself. And by talking about it, by talking to all my friends, they realized that they also started talking and they started indicating that they had experienced similar things. That kind of community, that kind of exposure, it's not an embarrassment. It's just something that happens when you're a senior. You have to talk about to other seniors. What I would suggest is contact the FTC. They have a website. You can fill out a complaint online. We can be empowered with your family, your friends, and other people in your community to try to put a stop or at least protect ourselves from these kinds of scams.
Whew. That was a great video. Okay. You should be able to share yours now.
Give me just 1 second. Let me get back to the share. All right. Yeah, I think it's really important to see that, you know, there are real people out there, you know, that you know aren't afraid to come forward. And it lets you know as a victim that you shouldn't be ashamed that anybody can be scammed. I listened to a podcast and this morning it just so happened to line up with what I was talking about, and it was completely random, but it was from a psychologist doing a podcast on the confidence scam, and she was highlighting where a quote unquote supermodel had contacted a university professor, a widely renowned physicist who, you know, completely and totally believed that this supermodel was in love with him. And the supermodel in question is a real person, but she wasn't the person behind this scam or behind contacting him. Someone had taken her pictures and set up fake accounts and were using it to contact him. They ended up, and I hadn't finished the episode of the podcast yet, but they ended up convincing him to fly to Bolivia and to meet her at a photo shoot. And excuse me. And then, of course, before he got there, she had supposedly flown out to Geneva for another photo shoot. She couldn't wait for him to arrive, but she left a piece of luggage there, and it was, and she needed him to bring it to her in Geneva. And of course, he met with someone in a back alley, and he was, he'd been convinced, even though people were telling him this person wasn't real. He was otherwise a very smart person. He just wasn't aware, and he was convinced that, she's in love with him, he's in love with her, and he just wouldn't see reason, even though his friends were telling him, not to fall for it. So you should always listen to your friends. And of course, he ended up taking that piece of luggage, which was empty, and he threw some clothes in there, and then went to the airport and was getting ready to fly out. And of course, there were drugs sewn into the lining of the suitcase, and he was supposed to, smuggle drugs internationally, and he got caught and he was put in jail. I don't know what the ultimate outcome of it, because like I said, I made it into work before the podcast episode ended. So, but it's not just, getting money from you. They can also convince you to do things for you to expose you to a high level of risk. And getting caught for smuggling drugs in a foreign country is definitely not a good thing for anybody, but Americans either. So many other countries don't have the same protections or justice system that the US does. So always be aware of the many different types of romance scams that you could be targeted with. So finally, let's move on. And a second topic that I would like to cover is online shopping scams. This is an area where we've seen a real explosion in complaints in the last couple of years, particularly as people are shopping online from home more and more. So I want to walk you through some of the steps that you can take to make sure that you're staying safe online. The first thing I'll mention is that it's really, really important to make sure your devices are secure, whether it's a tablet, a smartphone, or a computer. If your device is connected to the internet, make sure you keep your security software, your internet browser, and your operating system all up to date. The best thing to do is to set them to update automatically. And that includes your home router system. If you have a home network, make sure the router software is up to date as well. You want to always use strong passwords when creating accounts. That means at least 12 characters. You want to use random numbers and digits, as well as special characters that would be allowed for whatever the account is that you're using the password for. You want to making a password longer is generally the easiest way to increase its length or increase its strength. Consider using passphrases of random words so that your password is more memorable, but avoid using common words or phrases. But in truth, the actual best option would be to use a password manager app or program on all of your devices. These password managers can generate very complex and completely random passwords to fit the requirements of whatever website or online service you have, and it can be used across all your devices. You also want to be careful with public Wi-Fi. You can control how secure your home network is, but you can't do the same thing for public Wi-Fi. It's always best to assume a public Wi-Fi network is not secure. It's actually always the only thing to assume, because even if they claim that it's secure, you can't be sure. The easiest solution would be to, instead of connecting to public Wi-Fi, just to use the cell service to browse the internet and on your phone, instead of connecting to any Wi-Fi out when you're out and about. You want to save your online shopping, net banking, and other personal transactions for when you're on your home network. The best option for when you're outside of your trusted network is to use a VPN app or service. And this way you can use a public network without worrying that your information is vulnerable to attack or theft. And that's when you absolutely have to connect to public Wi-Fi on a regular basis. I think even if you don't do it on a regular basis, there are many VPN services that are inexpensive. I recommend it to everyone on, just it's the best thing to do. You want to start by researching the seller, especially if it's a company that you've never heard of. Everyday merchants are using social media and other channels to reach us in new ways. Some of these companies are legitimate, but others are scammers. You want to check out the company by typing its name in a search engine with words like scam or complaint or customer service. You can see what others are saying about the company, but take reviews with a grain of salt. And don't just trust the platform where you're buying it. You also want to look at the specific seller, because on Amazon, many goods are sold by third-party sellers who you should research and vet individually. The Walmart online marketplace is another major retailer that allows third-party vendors to sell their products. So just like with Amazon, you want to check out each vendor individually and make sure that they're reputable before you make any major purchases. In fact, my wife recently discovered many times after she's purchased something on Amazon, the seller is actually in China, and that the item wouldn't arrive for 2 to 3 months later. And in one instance, it never arrived. I've tried and coached her to try to pay attention to the seller details and to make sure she's aware of where the item will be shipped from. And at this point, she's finally just decided that she's gonna put something in the shopping cart and have me go look at it before she makes an unusual out of the norm type purchase on Amazon that maybe something she hasn't purchased before, or something from a vendor that might be new, or definitely when it's not Amazon fulfillment itself. So it's just easier to have someone or to pay attention. So, and I say take reviews with a grain of salt, because while reading other people's opinions about a product or company, it can help you make a decision. Some reviews are completely fake. Sometimes companies employ individuals or groups of people to write hundreds of wholly fictitious positive reviews for their products and the quality of customer service that the seller provides. So read those reviews with a critical eye and check to see how many reviews does the product have. Are people saying the same things over and over, or do the stories seem too fabricated? Those things may flag for you that this seller is suspicious and that you should research further before making that purchase. Do some comparison shopping. Before you buy online, use the power of the internet to compare prices on different websites. Check shopping comparison sites to compare the price of the product at different websites. And remember that shipping costs and other add-ons may not be included in these prices. And read online reviews, but now you know to think critically about these online reviews. And finally, don't forget the old saying that if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Scammers often will offer prices that are suspiciously lower than a legitimate retailer might. And we've got good tips about using comparison and shopping sites at consumer.ftc.gov. In fact, you can almost start at consumer.ftc.gov for many of the questions you have about anything that I'm talking about today, or even things that I haven't mentioned or brought up. You can start there, and you can generally find what you're looking for with regard to scams or deceptive practices, or anything regarding consumer protection. Pay attention to the details. Before you buy something online, know when it'll ship and what to do if you want to return it. There's an FTC rule that requires sellers to ship items as they promised in their ads. And if a seller doesn't promise a time, it has to ship your order within 30 days after it gets your name, address, and payment, or permission to charge your account. Many sites offer tracking options so you can see exactly where your purchase is and estimate when you'll get it. On this slide, you'll see a graphic from the website, a company that the FTC sued at the outset of the COVID pandemic. The company was claiming pay today, ships tomorrow for a variety of items, including charger cables, clothing, and jewelry, as well as some important pandemic-related goods like masks and other PPE. But the company in actuality didn't ship goods on time, and when it did ship, it often ships counterfeit or fraudulent goods. Automatic renewals, many online retailers do business on a subscription model, but they don't always make that clear. And a seller may offer you a free trial that turns into a hefty regular fee after a limited time. They may tell you of an upfront cost, but not tell you that it'll renew if you don't cancel. So it's important to know the company's policy about automatic renewals. A law that the FTC enforces requires clear disclosure of important terms like automatic renewal and to provide a simple way to cancel. You want to check the seller's refund policies. The site should tell you if you can return the item for a full refund, and if you can return it, you want to find out who pays for the shipping costs for the returns, how many days you have before you have to return the item, and will you have to pay restocking fees. Check refund policies for sale items. If you buy things on sale, double check the return policies because sellers often have different refund and return policies for sale items, and this is especially true for clearance merchandise. How you pay online matters. I'd like to spend a minute on payment methods. How you pay is really critical because it can help you sniff out a scam and because it affects your ability to get money back if you get scammed. You want to always try to pay with a credit card when you can. Credit cards give you more protection if something goes wrong than debit cards or other payment methods. Contact your credit card company to dispute the charges if a seller doesn't deliver your goods or if they are not as promised. So pay with a credit card, but there are also some don'ts here. Never buy anything from online sellers that accept payment only by gift cards. And I say never, and I want to make sure you understand this is a never. If they only accept gift cards, money transfers through companies like Western Union or MoneyGram, or via cryptocurrency. Payments you make in these ways are nearly impossible to trace or reverse. And scammers often tell people to use those payment methods so they can get money quickly, so they can avoid detection and avoid having to deal with a chargeback or get clawbacks from the money that you've already sent. But what about shopping on social media? The same advice applies, particularly doing research and not rushing. It's easy for advertisers to create a buzz or to make ads that look like posts from a real person, and it's sometimes hard to see that it's an actual ad. You want to make sure you thoroughly inspect a post to figure out if it's an ad, and if it is, make sure you do your research on the company. Millions of people have downloaded shopping apps to their smartphones. Apps can save you time in checking out, earning rewards, and finding coupons and deals. But if you download one, think about the information you share when you use the app and know how to get help in case of a billing error. If you have a billing problem after using a shopping app, you need to find out who to get help from, whether it's the store or seller staff or the company behind the app. And this is when how you pay matters. Find out what personal information shopping apps collect. Shopping apps might give you exclusive deals or reward points, but they also might take your personal information like your name, phone number, and email. And they might use your device's location. There are two more online scams that I'd like to touch on quickly. Work from home, job scams, and email text scams. Many people would like to work from home, especially after COVID hit, and scammers know this, and so they place online ads with claims that you can make thousands of dollars a month working from home with little time and effort. They often try to pull people in by promising that you can be your own boss, set your own schedule, or start your own business. But instead of making money, you end up paying for starter kits, training, or certifications that are in actuality useless, just useless pieces of paper. You might also find that your credit card is charged without your permission, or you get caught up in a fake check scam. If someone offers you a job and they claim that you can make a lot of money in a short period of time with little work, it's definitely a scam. A common example of a work from home scam is the reshipping scam. It starts with online job postings for a position like quality control manager or virtual personal assistant. Once you're hired, your job is to receive packages at home, discard all original packaging and receipts, and inspect the products and repackage them and then reship them to an address that the scammers provide to you. Often the products are high priced and name brand goods and the final destination is overseas. After doing this work for over a month, you can try to contact the company to ask where your first paycheck is, only to find that the phone number and website no longer work. Not only are you out a month's wages, but the scammers also have your personal information, and you may have been reshipping products bought with stolen credit card numbers. Another example of a scam is when a company offers you a money-making opportunity to buy a brand name luxury goods from them and at less than retail prices so that you can sell them at a profit. However, once you order and pay for these products, the package either never arrives or it's full of junk product. So before accepting a job, it's best to do an online search for the name of the company or the person hiring, plus the words scam, review, or complaint. You can also run the offer by someone you trust and never pay for the promise of a job. Legitimate employers will never ask you to pay to get a job, and don't trust that a check is legitimate just because the bank initially accepted the deposit. It takes the bank a while to check that it's real, and if it's not, you'll be on the hook for the amount you took out. Scammers send emails and texts that look real, hoping to trick you into clicking a link. Often it looks like the message might be from your bank or FedEx or another company you know. There's often an urgent warning that comes with the message that your account is locked or that an urgent delivery is waiting your attention. If you click the link, scammers could wind up putting malware on your computer or your phone, or you could be taken to a website where you're asked to input sensitive personal information. So don't click on links in unexpected emails or text messages. Also, malicious websites are often set up with names similar to trusted websites, but with a letter changed to prey on people who input a typo. These also can be set up to get you to input your personal information or to download malware. And remember that only scammers will insist that you pay by wiring money through a service like Western Union or MoneyGram, by Bitcoin, or by putting money on a gift card. We encourage you to keep up to date with the latest scams by signing up for alerts at ftc.gov/consumer alerts. And when you do, you'll get updates delivered right to your email inbox. So let's recap some big picture signs of a scam. It's easy to talk about scams after the fact, but I want you to be able to identify them in real time. We'll also walk through what to do if you realize you've been scammed. What are some signs of a scam? First, be wary of anything that's very of the moment. In the last couple of years, that could have been companies selling COVID testing kits, purported cures, and work from home opportunities. Second, scams often try to impersonate someone you trust. It could be a government agency or a family member or your bank or a love interest. Third, you want to be very suspicious of anyone contacting you out of the blue to rush you through paying for a good or a service or turning over your personal information. They will frequently try to create a sense of urgency, and maybe it's that your computer needs an update now, or that your grandchild has been jailed, or that someone you met on a dating site needs cash for an emergency. Excuse me. Fourth, those pleas are always accompanied by an ask from you, whether it's to send money or provide your personal information. And fifth, when they're asking for payment, they often want money in strange ways, and they'll accept payment through a prepaid card, debit card, or cryptocurrency, or through a wire or money transfer. And ask yourself, who else do I pay this way? And the answer, of course, is no, no one, which is a good sign it's a scam. What to do if you were scammed? If you paid a scammer, did you pay with a credit card or a debit card? If so, then contact the company or the bank that issued the credit or debit card and tell them it was a fraudulent charge and ask them to reverse the transaction and give you your money back. Did a scammer make an unauthorized transfer from your bank account? Contact your bank and tell them it was unauthorized debit or withdrawal and ask them to reverse the transaction and give you your money back. Did you pay with a gift card? Contact the company that issued the gift card and tell them it was used in a scam and ask them to refund your money. And granted, many of these things, when you ask them to refund your money, I mean, you always want to ask, but there's no guarantee that they either can or will. Did you send the money through a wire transfer company like Western Union or MoneyGram? If so, contact that company and tell them it was fraudulent transfer and ask them to reverse it. And did you send a wire transfer through your bank? If so, contact your bank and report the fraudulent transfer and ask them to reverse the wire transfer and give you your money back. Excuse me. Similarly, if you sent the money through a money transfer app like Cash App or Venmo, you want to contact them and request a reversal if possible, and contact your bank as well. And if you paid with a cryptocurrency, These almost definitely are not reversible. And you can only get your money back if the person you paid sends it back. But at the same time, you want to contact the company you used to send the money and tell them it was a fraudulent transaction. If you sent cash by US mail, contact the Postal Inspection Service and ask them to intercept the package. If you gave a scammer your personal information, if you give them your social security number, you want to go to identitytheft.gov, which we talked about earlier. And if you gave them your username and password, you want to immediately create a new and stronger password. And if you use that same password anywhere else, change it there as well. You want to immediately log out all remote users and devices from your account to make sure you get them out of your account before you change it to the new password. If a scammer has access to your computer or phone, you want to update your computer's security software and run a scan and delete anything it identifies as a problem, and then take steps to protect your personal information. If a scammer takes control of your cell phone number and account, contact your service provider. And once you do, change your account password. Also check your credit card, bank, and other financial accounts for unauthorized charges or changes. And if you see them, report them to the company or institution and go to identitytheft.gov. And finally, report a scam to the FTC. To report a scam in English to the FTC, to the Federal Trade Commission and other law enforcement agencies, please go to reportfraud.ftc.gov. To report it in Spanish, go to reportefraude.ftc.gov. At this time, the FTC does not have the capabilities to receive complaints in other languages, so we ask that if you need assistance, contact a trusted English or Spanish speaker for help. The site is user-friendly, and when you go to reportfraud.ftc.gov and click on the Report Now button, the site will ask you some questions to narrow down what your report is about, and it's actually very robust, and you can report any type of scam, fraud, or bad business practice that you've spotted. After you submit your report, you'll get a report number, which you can use to update your report if something else comes up. And you'll get next steps to take according to the problem you reported. It's a great way to get advice to people right away at a moment when they're looking to do something about their situation. For example, if you paid a scammer by credit card, you'll get next steps to take in order to dispute the transaction and recover your money. If you provided an email, you'll also get this information in an email as well. Your report gives the FTC and our law enforcement partners and agencies information that can help identify and stop dishonest businesses. It also helps the FTC spot current fraud trends so that the FTC can alert other people on how to avoid them. In fact, the statistics that I included at the beginning of my presentation came from this very system. And when you report something at reportfraud.ftc.gov, you help to protect not only yourself, but your community. If you're looking for more resources on what we've talked about today, there are several places you can go. Consumer.ftc.gov is the website where you can go learn more about consumer protection issues generally. And that from there, you can find out a lot more information on specific scams and issues. But if you're looking for materials in print, you can go to ftc.gov/bulk order, and you can order any available materials for free. Just make sure you do so in advance because shipping can take a while and they have to print the items and sometimes there's a backlog on large orders. You can also download the PDFs and print them yourself. If you want to find out more information about imposter and income scams we talked about today, you can go to ftc.gov/imposters or ftc.gov/romance scams for the imposter scams. And for income scams, you can go to ftc.gov/jobs or ftc.gov/job scams. You can also stay updated and connected to the FTC by signing up for our consumer alerts. By subscribing to the alerts, you'll get information on how to spot and report the newest variation of scams directly in your email box. And as FTC employees, we're automatically signed up for these and we get them, pretty regular. And these are really good alerts, especially if you're not on the lookout for these types of things. These will alert you to these issues to be prepared for. And so, you've got that in the back of your mind after you get this alert. And if all of a sudden you receive something similar to what that alert talked about, you're already, you just make yourself less vulnerable to attack or being scammed from these bad actors. And if you're on Facebook, you can also follow us there by searching for Federal Trade Commission, all one word. And you'll find the commission's Facebook page there. And I'd like to say thank you. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today. And if you have any questions, I'm sure that we can address them to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Thank you. That was fantastic. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will happily ask them. Wonderful presentation. I love it. This is your second year of speaking with us and you always nail it. You talk about everything we want to hear about, especially with the online shopping, the romance scam. Everybody out there listening, those scams are alive and well. You'd be amazed. Everybody's like, well, I've seen that scam. It's been on Dr. Phil. Everybody knows about that scam. No, they don't. We get calls. FTC gets calls. It is still alive and well, unfortunately. So we do have a chat question. What steps can we take to prevent this to happen to older adults?
Well, older adults, I should say, it's the same steps that, anyone who is vulnerable, just to be aware of those scams that target older adults. Like there's I wanted to include more videos. There's a grandparent scam video that's really good. But I had to kind of cut out some of the videos I wanted to include for time. They're really cute, and some of them are really poignant, like the one where the gentleman talked about his tech scam where he was victimized. But you want to be aware of the scams that are targeting older adults. Like I said, the imposter scams are the highest prevalence of any of the scams targeting anyone for fraud. Identity theft is the #1 complaint on the system, but that's not a fraud scam. And so all your imposter scams just blow every other category out of the water. So if you go to the ftc.gov/imposter, which I think I had on the screen earlier, you want to review all of that information there. There's videos for each of the different types of imposter scams, and it talks about both what those scams are and what to be aware of that maybe I might not have covered today. So.
Perfect. Second question we have, do you have any control over the credit bureaus?
The FTC is not affiliated in any way with the credit bureaus, but we do enforce, or I guess the FTC issued the rule that requires credit bureaus to provide your credit report for free once a year. And we do have information on consumer.ftc.gov on how to dispute items on your credit report. I think also some of that information is included in the identitytheft.gov website as well, and how to dispute items on your credit report and how to obtain copies of your credit report from all of the 3 different bureaus.
So sorry to interrupt. It's so hard when we're virtual because it sounds like it's done and then it's like, so I do apologize. We have some more questions. Do you want all older adult scam emails and phone calls reported to identity? I'm sorry, I'm reading it like it came in. Who generated them? If yes, repeat to where. So if you want to, so basically what she's saying is every email, every phone call she receives, do you want her to report that? A lot of times what we do here at the Senior Medicare Patrol is we tell you can send all those to us and we compile them and then we send you a big load to the FTC. So if you ever want to just report it, you can report it to the Senior Medicare Patrol. We can give you our phone number again, and we can also give you our email address and everything, and I'll type that to you, some of our information that you can send us. And that way we'll send it to the FTC for you. That way the FTC doesn't get like 1,000. We do like usually every month, we send them everything we have. And that way it kind of helps them a little bit.
Yeah,
They get so
absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I also want to say there are many of your, I don't know what email provider you use, whether it's one of the online free email providers or whether it's through your internet service provider. But like, for example, I have a Hotmail account, a personal Hotmail email account, and there's a mechanism when you receive an email that is a scam or a phishing scam that you can click on, and it will report it to Hotmail itself and it will then and you want to make sure you do this in addition to reporting it, reporting it to, whatever, Better Business Bureau or government agency or the FTC. You want to do this also so that it will block future attempts at phishing scams from that email address, but it also allows your service provider or the email service to stop maybe future emails from that from that email address as well, or from that web domain. It may not always help, and it's not foolproof, but that's an extra step that I should bring up and advise everyone to do, because it at the same time as it blocks further emails from that account, it will it allows your service provider or email account provider to maybe do something a little proactive to stop other people from receiving those same phishing attempts.
Very good. And I can't tell you, personally and professionally, I receive a lot of those, and I try to do those steps, and they work on some, not on all, but it is a great thing if you can prevent some of those from coming in. It looks like we have one more question. Will these presentations be released? Yes, we are working on releasing these next week to everyone, so you can watch them, and make sure to keep on spreading our messages. And thank you so much, Brent, for joining us today. Thank you for the
Absolutely,
work that
my
you guys
pleasure.
do at the FTC. And one more round, guys. Woo! My team
Thank you
loves
so
this
much.
week. This is the Super Bowl for us, because
It is. It's the Super Bowl for
really
the FTC. It's a great week. Before the pandemic, I used to travel to various places in our, in the Southwest region and do in person, or we would set up a table at one of the, U.S. post office centers, and, for National Consumer Protection Week. I love National Consumer Protection Week because I like getting out and meeting people and, helping them, be proactive and help, help them learn to be aware of what scams are out there and how to not be targeted, or how to defend themselves from being targeted if they are. But yeah, it's a great week. I'm always willing to do these presentations. It's a lot of fun, and I just want to do whatever I can to educate and inform consumers to help protect them.
absolutely. And thank you for your service, and thank you for your service in the military. We
Oh, thank
really
you.
appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our veterans. And if you would like to come back at 1 o'clock, everyone, we will have Homeland Security also talking about scams, because we're keeping this going all week long, because we are going to try to prevent as many scams as we can. And if you do fall victim for a scam, do not be embarrassed. We are here to help you. So we'll see you guys again at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much.